You're listening to the Magnetic Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Calandra Martin, intuitive brand designer for spiritual entrepreneurs. The Magnetic Boss Podcast is where visionaries come together to openly share wisdom and authentic conversations. I know that you are ready to leave your legacy in the world and become sought out in your industry. I also know that you are sick and tired of getting overlooked. You're ready to have a magnetic business. I'm here to help you create your magnetic brand. It's my mission to help you show up confidently with a professional, irresistible online presence. If you're in this for the long game and all in on the big vision you have for your business, let's dive in. Welcome back to the Magnetic Boss Podcast. Today, I felt called to share a journal entry style episode with you, completely off the cuff, very casual conversation, just to fill you in on what's happening in my world, what's happening in my business, because as somebody who hosts this podcast and is speaking to you every single week, I feel it's really important for us to feel like we know each other. I want to know you. I want to know what makes you you. And I also want you to know pieces of me and what makes me who I am and how I've gotten to where I am in my journey. Because there's always so many lessons to learn through observing other people's processes and through really understanding what makes other people tick. This is one of my favorite ways to do market research, is to really look at the psychology behind somebody and the choices that they're making and really just understand them on a soul level. So I want you to have that opportunity with me. As always, I am an open book. You can always feel free to ask me questions. So if there's something I don't cover in today's episode that you are curious to know, just send me an Instagram message and maybe I'll do another one of these episodes if it's valuable for you, if you find it entertaining. So definitely share your reviews with me on iTunes. So the reason that I was feeling called to share a journal style podcast with you today is because with the season change in my life, there is always a big shift. Always, whether it's going from spring to summer or winter to spring or fall to winter, I always notice that I feel this call to switch things up, to change, to get rid of that stagnant energy that might have been building up over the last couple of months. And so I've been feeling this creeping in for quite a few weeks now. I would say a couple of months, right as we get to the end of winter here in Maine, where I currently live. We get this, what almost feels like a sense of school vacation energy. I remember being back in middle school and we would be coming up on a vacation and everybody was just really jazzed up, right? We had this bubbling energy. We could hardly sit at our desks. We were excited to go out and explore and be kids and do all the things. And for me, when we go from the winter season to the spring season, especially here in Maine, because it's such a drastic change and you start to feel that sense of life again, the sun is hitting your skin differently. It's just a completely different experience. I notice that really impacts me on a soul level. When it comes to my personal life, when it comes to my business, everything changes. And so with this spring energy, I'm recognizing where there are places in my business that need to shift or that need revisiting and maybe some nurturing. And I'm also noticing that in my personal life. So I'll start with personal life stuff, just so that you're in the loop and you know what the hell I'm talking about. If you're watching my stories recently on Instagram, I've been sharing a lot of behind the scenes of us working on renovating our 40-foot camper. If you haven't seen that, you can follow along. I did upload an IGTV to give you a full tour of what it currently looks like in the very beginning stages of us working on this project. But in short, we bought this 40-foot camper and we are renovating it to live in it full time. So our plan is that our family will be moving in the fall. We are moving down south and we'll be living in this camper while we build a home on a foundation in the south. And I'm really excited. It's going to be a huge shift for all of us. And I'm really excited for what's to come with that. So that has been taking a lot of my energy, a lot of my creativity, which has been such a good outlet for me. Because as a manifesting generator in human design, one of my superpowers is that I love to change my mind. I love to try new things. I get these creative ideas and I execute on them quickly. And sometimes that can become an issue in my business. I will be the first to say that, especially in the beginning of my business, I stunted my growth. I really held myself back from growing my business because I kept changing my mind and trying new things. Whether it was creating a new freebie a week after I had launched one, or changing the name of my program, or restructuring something, I was constantly changing, constantly evolving. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it has to be done with intention. And so through trial and error, especially in my business, I have learned that if I'm going to make changes, or if I'm going to feel the need to make changes, if I have a creative outlet that is outside of my business, I'm less likely to make these knee-jerking reactions of, oh, I'm going to change everything and burn everything to the ground. So this camper and making this big lifestyle change has been such a great avenue for me to really let my mind explore all of the possibilities in front of us. And our lifestyle is going to look a lot different down in the South. We will be a 1-income household versus a 2-income household, which is what we're used to now. And it's going to give our family an opportunity to become such a stronger unit, which I'm really excited for. I'm really, really looking forward to my fiance being home and taking care of our son and bringing him on adventures. We are planning on unschooling/homeschooling him because he is getting to the school age. He'll be 5 next year. So we are kind of anticipating what that might look like and keeping ourselves open to whatever might come out of this move. Maybe we enroll him in school, maybe we don't. But there is so much possibility. So that has been really exciting. It has been something that is giving me that momentum and that push through the end of the winter, knowing that there's something brighter on the horizon, knowing that something is about to change. And I find that this is something really helpful for me, not just in a big lifestyle change scenario, but in a day-to-day scenario. Because again, as a manifesting generator, I want to stay busy. I want to be going and doing and creating and rebirthing things. And with my business, that can feel like stagnant energy, right? I can hit these points of a plateau where I feel like something needs to change, but I'm not exactly sure what or how. And that can get messy and confusing, especially for my audience. So setting these milestones have been really helpful for me. Another example of this that I've been really making sure I am intentional about lately is having these days in my life where I am not sitting behind my computer. So as a full-time entrepreneur, I am behind my computer or using my phone for business at least 5 hours a day on average. And I know because I have my screen time reminding me that I should be using less screen time. And every week it is about 5 hours a week on my phone. And that's not counting my laptop. So I would say it's probably double that. So maybe 10 hours on average, and not a week. I'm completely undershooting here. 5 hours a day. So if you combine that with the time that I'm likely spending behind my computer, it's probably close to almost 10 hours a day, which is crazy. It is so much screen time. And so the reason that I mention this is because I have been setting these days, intentional days, where I am unplugged. Now, that doesn't look perfect. I am still usually posting to my Instagram stories. I am still usually checking in on my notifications on Facebook and Instagram, or checking my email 100 times a day because I just do that. Don't ask me why. I usually don't even have anything to respond to in my email because all of my exchanges are usually done in Messenger for most of my clients, but I still check it. And so these days where I am unplugged, they give me that revival of energy, right? It allows me to renew and reset and to see the bigger picture in my life and in my business. And it also gives me something to look forward to. So for me, repetition and having things plugged into my calendar drives me insane. If I have something in my calendar and it shows up every week, I tend to just ignore it completely. One example of this is recording podcast episodes. My virtual assistant, my team member, she puts it in my calendar for me so that I know that I need to record an episode this week, and I see it almost every week, and so I tend to overlook that. So that's something that I am trying to be really intentional about in my life and in my business, is giving myself the space to have that flexibility, making sure that I'm not just sitting behind my computer working for 10 hours a day on a regular basis, because I do, even as a manifesting generator and somebody who is a workhorse, I still find myself in those states of burnout or resentment, or feeling like I am trying to juggle too many things at once. And in reality, I'm usually not overworking myself, but I get myself in that hustle mindset so easily. So it has really been helpful for me to have creative projects outside of my business, to be setting intentional time to be unplugged mostly, and to really allow myself to break up that schedule, that routine, because I personally don't love routine. It does not help me unless it is something that is part of my everyday lifestyle. And so another thing that I am working on being more intentional around right now is really taking care of my body. Something else that happens to me with the change of the seasons is I notice a shift in the way that I care for myself. So in the winter, in the fall, I am somebody who loves comfort food. I love getting cozy and, just staying in my house, to be quite honest. I am such a homebody in the fall and the winter. When we have snow outside, I'm just not a fan, which is one of the reasons we are moving south where there is no snow, because I'm not going to miss it. Maybe around Christmas, but for the most part, not going to miss the snow whatsoever. And so in the fall and the winter, I am a homebody. I go into hibernation mode. I definitely don't take care of myself as much as I should. I drink way more coffee than is necessary because I like that warm beverage. I love the taste of coffee. And then come springtime and summer, I start to realize that my body feels heavy, and not in the sense of, oh, I've gained a ton of weight. Although this year I have gained quite a bit of weight, relatively speaking. Not necessarily in that sense, but in the sense of there is stagnant energy. Something needs to change. So what I am focusing on right now is making sure, first and foremost, that I am drinking water throughout the day. I just am not good right now. I am working on becoming better about drinking water. It is something that just completely slips my mind, and I have to be very intentional about it, to the point where I have recently downloaded an app to track my menstrual cycle that is also giving me reminders to hydrate during the day, and that has actually worked really well. So if you're looking for a really great app to track your cycle, I use Flow, F-L-O, and I'm loving that app so far. So I've been really intentional about drinking water. I have also been changing up my morning eating habits, because usually in the winter I go for a bakery item or an egg sandwich, or I am eating just bread. I love bread. I love carbs, which is not a bad thing, but within reason. And instead of eating 4 pieces of toast, I have been eating spinach and strawberries with lemon juice and salt and pepper. And I forgot how much I love that. My body feels so good now that I am nurturing it again and really fueling it again. And I also noticed that throughout the day, I don't have those cravings for the sugar or the carbs or the heavy fatty foods because I have the nutrients again. And I'm also trying to remember another thing I'm not great about right now and I'm becoming better at is remembering to take my supplements. I take Lifelong Vitality supplements. They are incredible. They make me feel so good, and I'm not great about taking them on a regular basis, but I'm getting better at it. And so I've been doing that in combination with eating better and hydrating. It is amazing what that can do for your energy. And then you throw in the sun and warmer weather, and I feel like a completely new person. Which is really important to mention and share because oftentimes we can separate in our minds our lifestyle and our business, right? I really truly believe that this stems from growing up and being conditioned to work a regular 9-to-5 job. And when I was doing that for quite a long time, my life and my work was completely separate, right? There was no overlap. I would spend 10 to 12 hours a day at work, and then I would go home, and most of the time I would just fall asleep because I was exhausted, and there was no time to really take care of myself or nurture myself. But in my business, when I take care of myself, when I focus on that self-care, and that looks like the very basic actions of drinking water and eating good foods, that translates into the energy that I bring to my business. And so I've really noticed a huge shift in the momentum in my business, the way that I am viewing my business. I'm not just getting frustrated when things aren't working or feeling like an epic failure. I have that ability to stand on the foundation that I've built and say, okay, what's next? What do we need to change? What needs revisiting? And that has been such a great lesson for me in this season that I want to share with you. So those are the biggest things happening in my personal life. I'm really excited for what's to come. Super looking forward to warmer weather. It's still pretty cold here in Maine, so it will be getting warm soon in the next month or so, and that's when things are going to really, really start happening. I can feel it. And it's that anticipation energy that gets me really jazzed up, not only in my personal life, but also in my business. And I should also mention that I've been taking more time for myself in just pursuing the hobbies that I have outside of my business that are not related in any way to what I do necessarily, but really allow me to feel like me. So right now I'm spending a lot of time outside. We are starting to plant our garden. We're starting to plant the seedlings, and we're growing them inside for now because it's still too cold. But just getting my hands in the dirt, taking care of my houseplants, that has been something that's really a form of meditation for me, is to just slow down, to take care of my plants, to take off the leaves that might be dead, or to repot my plants. It just feels really good to do that. And I've been spending a lot of time with my dogs, and that is something that is a huge part of me, especially when it comes to advocacy in rescue. I still am working as the social media manager for Pity Posse Rescue, and I've been trying to put some more intention behind that as well. So really just immersing myself in the things that make me feel like me. Going outside and throwing the ball for my senior dog who does not know when to stop, and just really putting that energy behind that is giving me that freedom and that space in my business. So that's my personal life in a nutshell. And in my business, things are really simple right now. They feel really simple. They feel really good. They feel like they are supporting me and my clients and the people that are in my audience. I hope that you feel that through this podcast. And I'm really just focusing right now on nurturing what I have created and refining the pieces of my business that are working really well. So I'm working currently on making some updates to the free brand personality quiz. If you have not taken that quiz yet, please go do that. It's so fun. I get such good feedback from this quiz. And I really designed this quiz to create an opt-in that brings you into the community and gives you a sense of empowerment around figuring out who you are and what you do and how you can show up in the world in a different way, because we all have these unique gifts. We all have the ability to create a brand that magnetizes the right people into our lives. And I find that a lot of people get stuck in the how, when it's really more important to be focusing on the what you do, who you are. These are the things that are going to give you that creative spark to start coming up with more strategic ideas and laying the foundation in your visual branding and all of those pieces. So I am spending time right now updating that quiz, making sure that the user experience is really incredible. That's important to me. So any feedback you have, if you're taking the quiz, please let me know. And I'm looking at the bigger picture of how my customer or my client journey looks, making sure that every single person that I come in contact with feels seen and heard and understood and cared for really, really well. So I'm updating processes on the back end, making sure that my clients are having the right touch points and that my design work is up to industry standards, and I am doing a really good job in that sense, really honing in on my skills, learning new things, taking the time on projects that I'm currently working on versus being in that hustle mentality, which I have been in before, of I need to get this project and I need to get it done and on to the next one. And that's not the energy that I'm bringing to the table this year. So I'm really taking the time with my clients, with the clients that I'm currently supporting, and making sure that their brand, when they walk away from working with me, they are just completely floored. They are so confident in what they have to share. So that has been a really fun process of refinement in my business in the last couple of months. And of course is something that will continue to evolve and continue to change, because that is the nature of owning a business, which is a good reminder, I think, for all of us, is to recognize that there is always going to be a ebb and a flow in your business. There's going to be times where you might feel frustrated with it, and then there's other times where you're going to feel really, really good about it. And right now I'm in that season of everything feels really, really good. And what I think is really important about recognizing that is that I get to share that energy with you. I get to share my excitement and my enthusiasm and what's working really well with you, so that you can take the pieces of that resonate and start applying them to areas of your life and areas of your business that might move the needle forward for you too. So that is something to be grateful for. I am so in this celebration energy right now of everything is going to work out, and everything is going to work out the way that it should, the way that it needs to, for the good of everybody, for the good of you, for the good of the people that you are going to impact with your business and with your work in the world. So that's it for today. I think I'll wrap up here. And I would love to know if this episode supported you in some way. If it did, feel free to leave a review on iTunes or send me a message over on Instagram. I'd love for you to share out the podcast if you are loving the show. And I will be back next week with another juicy episode. We're going to dive into some more strategic stuff when it comes to creating your magnetic brand. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe wherever you are listening so you never miss a beat. For episode show notes, visit calandramartin.com/podcast. Your iTunes reviews and your sharing of the show helps us reach more magnetic bosses just like you. Until next time.